only a few of the people that were here last night were doing. Well, if you sit right there at that door, then people won't be able to get in. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Vishaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Namine Namaste Saraswate Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shivani Paschachate Sarine Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasa Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So between last night and this morning, did a lot of homework with help from different devotees. I hear a machine that's chanting japa. Can you take care of that? Mataji, please don't sit right at the door. Please don't sit right at the door.
Okay. There is a chair outside.
No, sit chill, okay.
पता यहाँ में कोई गया
You're fine. You can sit wherever you like. Yesterday we had a little introduction, and then there was a lot of questions on the introduction. And one of the topics that we discussed was, as Lakshman is to Ram, Balaram is to Krishna, and Lord Nityananda is to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So Balaram Tattva. Balaram Are you okay?
Yeah.
Mataji? You're okay. Sure. Balaram is the first expansion, and we had this nice discussion. We had this nice discussion yesterday, elder brother, younger brother, because Balaram is the elder brother. And Lakshman is the younger brother, but they're the same tattva. And then we had another discussion about the elder brother of Lord Chaitanya was named Vishwarup. I'm just looking around the room to make sure we're all understanding what the topic is. Vishvarup. Nimai Pandit was the second son. The elder son of the two was Vishvarup, their brothers. And Vishvarup, being the elder brother, there was a question. Was Vishvarup also in the Vishnu Tattva category? And I said, I couldn't recall the scriptural reference to indicate one way or the other. So we now have the scriptural reference. I'm going to read to you. There's two places. One is Chaitanya Bhagavat. Here's from Chaitanya Charitamrita. Both say the same thing. These are verses that say the same thing. So Vrindavan Das Thakur writes in Chaitanya Bhagavat that Vishvarup, the elder brother of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, is Balaram, or is Nityananda, is the same tattva as Nityananda. So this is the sons of Jagannath Mishra, that's the father. Nimai Pandit was the younger brother. Vishvarup was the elder brother. Jagannath Mishra was very unhappy at the death of his children, one after another. Therefore, desiring a son, he worshipped the lotus feet of Lord Vishnu. After this, Jagannath Mishra got a son of the name Vishvarup, who was most powerful and highly qualified because he was an incarnation of Lord Balaram. Purport. Vishvarup was the elder brother of Gaurahari, Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. When arrangements were being made for the marriage of Vishvarup, he took sannyas and left home. He took the sannyas named Shankarananya in 1431 Shakabda era, or 1509 AD. He disappeared in Pandharpur, means he left his body or left this world, in the district of Sholapur. As an incarnation of Sankarshan, he, Vishvarup, is both the ingredient and immediate cause of the creation of this material world. That's a detailed topic. Both the ingredient and immediate cause of creation. So he's Vishnu Tattva, then to keep it simple, he's in the category of Vishnu Tattva. He is not different from Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, for the Angsa and the Angsi, or the part and the whole, are not different. As an incarnation of Sankarshana, Vishvarup belongs to the quadruple manifestation of Chaturvyuha. In Gora Chandrodaya, it is said that Vishvarup, after his so-called demise, remained mixed with Sri Nityananda Prabhu. End of purport. This is, let me do this. Room is small, but the recording, that's for the recording. Okay. Now, it's not the main, because the main topic is Lakshmana, but they're of the same tattva, and therefore the topic came up. Lakshmana is a lot easier to understand, it's less complicated, because although he's not the elder brother, as Balaram is the elder brother, he's the younger brother of Ramachandra. And naturally, as the younger brother, he looks to the elder brother in a certain way we heard yesterday. Lakshmana considered Lord Ramachandra to be his father, or with the same regard he held Ramachandra like the son regards the father. was his master, and whatever he wanted, that was what Lakshmana wanted. Even when it was difficult, that's what he wanted. I don't want to retell everything that I'm pausing because there are many things we discussed yesterday, and there's new people that weren't with us yesterday. So I don't want to retell what was yesterday's topics. There are a few points that took some time to research. One of the questions was the complexion of Lakshmana, the complexion of Ram. So in Valmiki Ramayana, in two places at least, the word Shama is used. And then those who are more knowledgeable of Ramayana than me, they added the word Shama means dark. It can mean, in the case of Krishna, it's blackish, but it literally means dark. And then the etymology of the different meanings of the word Shama in Sanskrit can mean different things. In English, at least, Valmiki Ramayana doesn't specify more than Shama. And then translators have translated in different ways. Dark complexion. Then another reference from yesterday's class, this came this morning, and that's in Laghu Bhagavatamrita. Laghu Bhagavatamrita is a book by Rupa Goswami, and the topic on that Laghu Bhagavatam is one thing, the various avatars of Vishnu. That's his topic. It's a big, thick book, translated and printed now by the BBT. Translated by Gopi Puranadana. So he, and Rupa Goswami, as the author, is covering the incarnation of Lord Ramachandra, and he specifies, same as we discussed yesterday, that his complexion was like that of freshly grown dhruva grass, which is like dark green. So dark in Valmiki Ramayana and dark green. It's a detail of the topic that we discussed yesterday. There were several others, and you forwarded these documents to everybody. So one of the questions that you had discussed in the car on the way over here with Nityananda Pran, Nandimukhi asked a question about what's the significance of the 14 years? And not only 14 years, but it wasn't even said 14 years, it was 9 plus 5, which makes 14. So why 9 plus 5 instead of 14? Why 14? What's the magic? And the explanation Nityananda Pran offered is from the Sri Vaishnavacharyas that comment on everything in Ramayana. And one of the things is, what's the magic of this number? Why didn't she simply say Kaikeyi? Why didn't she simply say 14? And the answer, their response, the Sri Vaishnavacharya's response, it's not Valmiki Ramayana response. It's two things. Law. The law is if someone has a title or position like king, and if they're absent for 14 years, they lose that title. They no longer can claim that title. It's not like they can't resume that position, but they can't claim that title. But someone has that title, they can claim that title. If they're out of town or gone for some period of time, up to 14 years, and then the bell rings. That's why the magic of 14. And then another comment that Nandimukti made was 14 is a really small number compared to how long Ramachandra ruled, 11,000 years. It's like peanuts. And Nityananda Pran expressed that according to the Sri Vaishnava Acharyas, that although the number is small compared to the duration of life, a year still passes slowly. It's the same year, it's just more of them. But the experience is 14 years is 14 years. And then a third explanation is why 5 plus 9. And the answer that our Sri Vaishnava Acharyas provide us is she, Kaikeyi, was understanding the enormous emotional turmoil of her husband. I mean, after all, he is her husband. And she made it sound less, although the math is 5 plus 9 is 14. She didn't say 14 because that sounds like too much. So she divided it. That's what the Sri Vaishnava Acharyas say. That's why 5 plus 9. Why it was expressed that way. There were some other points, and you can all take a look at the documents that you should have received. If you're not part of the WhatsApp group, you can speak to him, and he'll put you on that WhatsApp group so you can receive. So had a busy morning, going through and then refining and revising and coming up with what you should have received. Yeah. I think there's a couple more points I'm slowing down because I could say some of the other details, but I think it's just fine. So, step back. He, Lakshmana, is in the Vasudev Sankarshan Pradumna Aniruddha, the expansions of the personality of Godhead. He's in the Sankarshan category, as is Balaram, and so forth. So he's a Vishnu Tattva personality. He appears in an extraordinary way, but it's just like Krishna's taking birth or Ramachandra's taking birth. It's not an ordinary birth. There are semblances of an ordinary birth, but it would be a mistake to think he's born and he dies, because he's Vishnu Tattva. He makes an appearance and he makes a disappearance, but not the ordinary sense of born and dies. And he's representing the Guru position, the Guru Tattva position. So he's an embodiment of different tattvas simultaneously. And then he has all these functions to perform in the course of his life. Here's, could you take it? Here's a nice painting. The letters are very small at the bottom, but the letters at the bottom say what it's meant to indicate. This is Lakshman appealing to Ramachandra to take him with him. When it was announced 14 years in exile in the forest, Ramachandra went to inform different persons, 3 in particular, his mother, his wife, and Lakshman, because they're inseparable. And so they weren't separated. He was petitioning to come And so he came, and then when Lakshman came to know Ramchandra was going to be going to the forest and I'm going to go with him, he went to see his wife. Lakshman went to see his wife, who was Urmila. We discussed this a little bit. Here's the particular pastime. When he came to explain to his wife what the plan, he thought she would be very resisting. Sumitra's advice, that's his mother, serve well your elder brother. The eternal moral law states that the older brother is the refuge of the younger, whether in good times or bad. Never forget the duties of our race, O Lakshmana, which are to practice charity, perform sacrifices for the good of the people, and lay down one's life on the field of battle. So she's a virtuous Kshatriya lady, giving the kind of training and advice that she's given her whole life. Blinded by tears, Sumitra called out, "Farewell, dear son, farewell. Always see Ram as you do your father, Dasarath. Look upon Sita as myself, your mother, and see the forest as Ayodhya." These are parting words of his mother. You know, it's not easy for his mother to bear. And everyone else. We told the scene when he went to speak to Urmila. It's a nice passage. She was in the process of, she was artistic. His wife was artistic, Urmila. So she was making a painting of the coronation ceremonies with Sita and Ram in the centerpiece of that painting. Because that was the event that was going to happen that very day. Only when she was nearly finished with the painting, there was some noise at the door. It was her husband, and she was startled, and the paint that she was holding in her hand spilled all over the painting, and it spoiled the painting. And then when she heard that, she could understand why that painting got spoiled. It wasn't meant to be. And when her husband said what he was intending to do, she was fully supportive. You're as his mother, you're a worthy husband and a noble soul, and serve Ram well. You know, it's like 14 years in the forest. We'll see you later. What's the quality of these personalities? So here's Sumitra with her hands on her hip and expressing what she wants, and Dasarath is smashed, and Vishishta is pointing at Kaikeyi, you know, what a wicked person you are. These areas appealing to her. She's stubborn as can be. Dasarath is completely distressed. His jewelry has fallen to the floor. Sita, Ram, and Lakshmana are readying themselves to go with forest attire, and off they go, with Sumitra leading the way just to take them to the edge of the forest. And there's Ram and Sita side by side, and Lakshmana in the back, waving Haribol, proceeding to the forest. Another celebrated painting. You've probably all seen this nice painting. You know, Sita's in the chariot and Lakshmana's telling Sumitra, you know, slow down. And he's hitting the horses so they'll go faster. And Dasarath is trying to keep up with the chariot, and the two other mothers coming from behind. All the citizens look from the balcony and the rooftops and so forth, because it's heartbreaking. When you read, when I first started reading Ramayana, I couldn't help but note how many times the word sorrow appeared. So Ramayana is filled with sorrow. So it's, there's a backstory behind that. The word sorrow is the translation of the Sanskrit word karuna, because karuna normally means compassion, right? Mataji, you understand English? Karuna means compassion. Yes? Compassion?
Yes.
So, it's soft-hearted compassion. You see another in some difficulty or suffering, and you feel compassion for their suffering. You feel their difficulty. You feel compassion because of their difficulty. And that leads to a certain feeling in the part of the individual who's feeling that feeling of another, or the misfortune of another. And that's sorrow. So Rupa Goswami spends some time on, because it's one of the primary secondary rasas. And Ramachandra is the presiding deity of Karuna Rasa. It's a nice understanding. It's subtle, but on the other hand, it's very important in understanding Ramachandra and Ram's Leela, and including Lakshmana's role. As Ramchandra is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and it's his Leela. He can orchestrate his Leela however he likes, but here at the scene, and the orchestration of the Leela is, he's in the morning, and everything leading up to that morning, he's going to be, the coronation ceremony is going to happen. And in the midday, he's leaving the forest for 14 years. And people are feeling sorrow. They're feeling very unhappy, which is not karuna. It appears to be like very contradictory. So it's a nice understanding, a transcendental emotion, and it's based on love, where there is an expectation that's just the opposite. What happens? So there's everybody seeing him off. There goes the chariot in the back of that painting. Another painting indicating the same. With, of course, the paintings consistently show Lakshmana is in the back. Ram is in the front, Sita is in the middle. Another painting of the same. So, now they're walking. They reach the edge of the forest, and this is an Arabic painting of Ram Leela. Ram and Sita resting in the forest, guarded by Lakshman and Sumantra. So there they are, look like in their sleeping bag. And there's Ram with a mustache. If you're an Arabic speaking person, maybe you happen to have a little mustache. That's Sita. And then the two, Lakshman and Sumantra. This is at the edge of the forest. Then when they enter the forest, Lakshman is the one who engaged in conversation with Guha. And the very first night in the forest, so they meet the tribal chieftain. They meet tribal men, but they meet their chieftain. And Lakshman is the speaker. Now here's a scene where the boat is going to take them across the river. Guha wants to be the one to make the arrangement, and Ram is not so inclined, but Lakshmana is inclined. Finally, there's a discussion where they're ready to get on the boat. So this painting is from a scene from Ramayana. A devotee I know in Detroit made painting because he likes this pastime. So he, Sita gets in first, Lakshman gets in second, and when Ram starts to step in the boatman says, no, you can't step in this boat. And Ram smiles and Lakshman scowls and, why can't step in the boat? He said, I heard about you. I heard that you stepped on a stone and a lady came out of the stone. And I'm a married man and I'm poor and I already have a wife and I already have children and I don't need another wife, so you can't step in my boat. Ram understood. So he said, very well, is there something that can happen so that you'll allow me to step in your boat? Yes, I can wash your feet because it's the dust of your feet can't touch the boat. And after washing his feet, then he kept the water and drank the water and sprinkled water on his family members, and now you can get on the boat. Pastime. And there they are crossing the boat. And there are different things that can happen in a boat crossing. This is not such a big eventful thing, but there's Ramachandra's giving an opportunity for service to this boatman. Lakshmana exemplified that the purpose of one's life must be to serve the Supreme Lord in totality with mind, words, and action. So he, in one sense, is just going along for the ride. And why? Because he wants to be in service to Ramachandra. And this is Ramachandra's destiny, or the statement of Kaikeyi, and he's going to oblige the statement of Kaikeyi because it's the promise to his given by Dasarath, etc. So Lakshmana is inseparable. With inconvenience, no problem. Another nice painting. This looks like far more serene. So there's Guha, the tribal chieftain in the back, and the boatman, and Sita and Ram in the center. Very peaceful looking painting. And on the other side of the river, something very important happens. The first place where they settle for the night is there's a hermitage of sages. Sharabanga is the person in charge. Now, Lakshman, he's just watching guard, because the same as that cover painting or cover artwork. This is the color version of that cover. He's just day and night, not sleeping. He's just guarding Sita and Ram. Another painting of the same. And so at the hermitage of Sharabanga, there was a scene that happened where the sages requested Ramachandra to give them protection. The king, or in the dynasty of Ikshvaku, and here you are in the forest. We're being harassed by Rakshasas. There are abundant Rakshasas in the forest, and they attack. They kill some of our members of this ashram. So please give us protection. We have sufficient Brahmatejas to destroy them, but we don't want to utilize the Brahmatejas for that purpose. We want for higher purpose. So Ramachandra made that pledge. And then in various ways, Lakshmana is not like the super cook, but that's what his service that he's doing, cooking for the divine couple. And whatever it is that the moment required, that's what Lakshmana would do. Here it is, he's preparing food. Here he's gathering fruits and berries. And just stand by, whatever the divine couple, whatever the two want. that's Lakshman's ready to gather water, anything for their necessities and convenience. No, he gives to Ram, and Ram gives to Sita. That's the system. Very devoted. Here's a nice painting. He's carrying a big pot of water. And there's Ramachandra gesturing to Sita, describing the beauty of the forest. He is not at all disturbed by forest life. He is particularly attracted to forest life and the scenes of nature. And Lakshman is just there at his service to Ram. Nice position. In course of time, they come to the ashram of Bharadraj Muni. Bharadraj Muni was an assistant to Valmiki. And they meet him and pay their respects to him, of course. And he gives them some instruction how they should spend their time in the forest, where to go, etc. He particularly recommends they go to Chitrakoot, whereas at this particular time, Valmiki Muni was at that ashram of Chitrakoot. And so off they go. And in Chitrakoot, there was a plan that they would spend some time in living in Chitrakoot area. And so Lakshman was entrusted with the service of building a little cottage. So you see Lakshman way off in the back and the left, and there's two cottages, one for Sitaram and one for Lakshman. And it looks very organized, like cultivation fields or something like that. Not necessarily what it looks like in field life today. But there's their nice little cottage. And there he is standing guard, as he is always depicted doing. So this is part 3. Now, maybe I'll pause, see if there's, from yesterday's discussion, those of you that are with us, or you may have heard the recording or something, and what we've heard so far, little pause and see if there's some discussion before we move forward. My understanding on the car ride on the way over here, there are 3 sannyasis in town. And so the size of each of those 3 audiences is less than what it would normally be, at least divided by 3. So I'm happy you're able to come. And discussing the topics of Ramayana was a topic that was requested that would be our topic. Specifically, personalities from Ramayana. That's our assignment. And there's always something new, a detail or a nuance or some particular feature. Those that are very knowledgeable, how many here are accustomed to regularly, either now or sometime in the past, read Ramayana? How many here are in that category? Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Master, you don't read Ramayana? No?
Before.
Before. Long time before. I'm going to tell a little story. This is a senior citizen story. There's somebody I know who is now 80 years old. And I asked his, husband and wife, how do you have affinity for Ram Leela? She said, oh yes. So could you share with me how that affinity grew? She said, yes. When I was a little girl, 3-4 years old, my grandmother would gather us by her feet. We'd sit there, look up at Grandma, and she would read from Ramayana. On a regular basis, daily basis, she would read from Ramayana. And because of hearing Ramayana, there was a natural affinity. She said, I can't remember all the details so well, but that's what happens when you become a senior citizen. You can't remember things so well. But the affinity for Ramchandra, and as we heard already, like how Sumitra responded and how various personalities responded to the horrible news, not only he's not going to become the king, he's banished to the forest for 14 years. How those elevated souls responded with character. And by hearing and hearing and hearing and hearing, because that character is not how people live their lives today. There's something else that goes on. Like these two boys. You know, their voice. That's okay. But in Vedic times, especially in royal family, they're very cultured. And they dealt with each other in a very cultured way. They dealt with other forms of life in that way. You know, they're very refined. And the refinement is ultimately it's resting upon Vishnu Bhakti. Anyone who has superlative Vishnu Bhakti is naturally decorated with these nice qualities. That's what the Bhagavatam teaches us. And that's what the practical experiences of those who are immersed in the topics of the personality of Godhead. It's exactly what the Bhagavatam tells us about how can one develop qualities like that? By hearing the topics of the personality of Godhead. It sounds oversimplistic, but the principle is very easy to understand. The principle is, like I'm looking out the window, or, there's a big tree out there. And probably once upon a time wasn't a big tree. Probably just a little tree. And who knows how long it's going to stand, but, it's standing pretty tall and strong. And that's just by slowly over, because trees don't grow quickly. The root structure, and sufficient water so that the tree grows tall and strong. And culture within individual or within groups of individuals or within a society is the watering and the nurturing of the seed that develops that tree develops the culture of an individual or person. It's the same. It's this hearing. And it's very valuable. Very valuable. I'm pausing thinking of this very important teaching of Prahlad Maharaj in Canto 7, Komara Ashtarat Pragyo Dharman Bhagavataniha Durlabam Manusam Jama. To get this human form of life is very rare. And it is to be utilized properly because it's so important. And if it's not utilized properly because it's so important, then what's going to happen? You get life that goes on today, very disturbing. One thing after the next thing, after the next thing, after the next thing, it's unending. And it gets darker and darker because of the age. So Is there something that can be done to counteract that darkening tendency of the age of Kali? The answer is hearing topics of the personality of Godhead. Prabhupada would say that people, the facility is there, but people, how many people are coming? Compared to all the people that are out there, very few people are coming, and therefore we go knocking door to door. Please come and attend our program. We canvass. Prabhupada used the phrase canvass. We invite people to read these books, to receive a book, to participate in hearing the subject matter, take Krishna Prasad, etc. Proportionally, few people, compared to the totality of people, few people take advantage. And therefore, there's the missionary aspect or the outreach aspect, extending the opportunity here to others as far as possible, widely. Because of the potency, because of the beneficial nature of hearing these topics. That's how one becomes cultured. Okay, let's see if there's any, so far, comments or questions? Nandi Mukia. That sounds good.
Hare Krishna, Guru.
Well, good.
Thank you. I think this Karuna Rasa that you're talk about, especially in the case of Lakshmana, and what my impression is the 14 years that he went through together with Sita and Rama, perhaps if we compare this period with the later period where he is told by Ram to send away Sita to the forest. And I think this initial 14 years may look at a tragedy externally, but from the internal perspective of Lakshmana, perhaps he is kind of it's more pleasing. It's not pleasing, it's more because he has an intimate time together with Sita and Ram. And
Yes.
it's even more, in a sense, it's enjoyable. It's like he could serve the divine couple to his
Yes.
highest extent. And later on, when he has to send away Sita and leave Rama on the throne alone, I think that perhaps is the difficulty he felt, or the sorrow that he felt, perhaps is even more than that is felt by Rama.
Yeah.
Because what Rama is separate from Sita, but he is seeing Rama separating from Sita. It's like we usually say that the Lord could tolerate the offense to himself, but he won't tolerate the offense committed to his devotee. In a similar fashion,
Yeah.
it's like the Lord Rama could tolerate the separation from Sita, but from the Lakshmana's point of view, it's really kind of hard to handle, and he has to endure, I don't know how many years to that sense of karuna or shoka. And just on that topic, is there any specific reference that talk about how long is Lord Rama separated from Sita?
During this time that she's in the forest with Valmiki. Is that your question?
Yeah, how?
Yeah, long enough for the boys to be trained. Now, the training of young boys it's Komara, Achara Pragyo. It generally goes from 5 to 11.
I mean the period where Lord Rama is ruling Ayodhya alone without Sita.
Oh. Well, after they come back, that's 11,000 years. After they come back, and they're reciting Ramayana musically, and Rama is astounded, and he wants to know who are these boys that Vishwamitra brought, and it's his sons. And with that, Sita disappears into the earth. The earth, so for 11,000 years he ruled. First he ruled in her absence for the duration of the boys growing up, and Vishwamitra Muni training them. That's one period. And then shortly thereafter, she disappeared. And for 11,000 years he ruled without Sita by his side.
For the entire 11,000 years.
What?
It's for the entire duration of 11,000 years that Ram stay alone.
Yeah. Confirmed.
Okay.
And separation. It's a big topic. Separation is, and it's a big emotion connected with the big topic. But yes, you're digesting that. What did you think otherwise?
I mean, I don't know. It's just maybe Rama and Sita could stay together for some time. At least they have a time together.
No, it's short. It was really short. Long enough for that singing of Ramayana. And then the earth opened up and she disappeared. Separation and sorrow.
And I want to another reflection from a broader perspective, just to look at the literature itself. Based on my observation from the literatures in Chinese language, like Indian culture, China also have thousands of years of history.
Yes.
And it's not uncommon that a same historical event are described in different texts, and however the description are different
Yes.
from one another, and sometimes even contradicting one another. And also, if we just look at one same text over the history, there could be a variety of versions of it. And I think, and these between these versions, and there are certain amount of inconsistencies between them, and not necessarily give the readers a clear understanding what is the point that is being made. And I'm just thinking from the similar things is also observed here in terms of, say, Ramayana or other literature in the Vedic context. And I'm just thinking, like, of course, we from the theological point of view, we understood that there is a certain aspect of Kalpa Veda, which means the difference in creation, in the cycle of creation, that the recursive patterns, they could have variabilities between them. But I think the interplay of these variations that are introduced by human limitations is also there.
Which variations?
variations.
Say it again. Say the last sentence again. What's the main point?
The variation is twofold. One is the same historical event that are described differently among different texts.
Yes.
And the second fold is within the same text, so, Ramayana, and there are different versions
Oh yeah.
of that
Oh
text.
yeah.
So this twofold differences, like in
Okay.
a text, in the context of Chinese literatures, is obviously usually we would ascribe those to human limitations. And here in the Vedic context, well, we have the Kalpa Veda understanding, but still there is the interplay of human limitations.
Yeah.
And I think the difficulty here is it could create a certain level of reliability crisis. Say, what is the original? Say, what is the original, the very, very original text that was delivered in the very beginning? And so I think that could be that could create a certain doubt in the readers amidst all the different variations. I think what my reflection at this point is, it's perhaps more beneficial to switch from the focus on tracing out what is that original text to the acceptance,
To the which?
to the accepting
What's the word?
accepting
Acceptance.
the variability here, and because the variability, they on the one hand is kind of, it could create confusions, but also it demonstrates the popularity of that text.
Yeah.
And people, due to, and it just demonstrates its value, although due to the limitation, it has a certain amount of variation. And so we just take whatever we have and stay close to the teachings.
We have discussions like this all the time. The original text of something is like gold. And where is that original text, and who can, like one family I was with in Boston, there's a young boy. How old are you? 12. About your age, maybe he was 10, between 10 and 12. And he had this fascination for Greek history, Greek philosophers, Greek teachings. I don't know how it got in his system, but that was his fascination. And, what did Socrates really say, and what did Plato really write, and what's original? There's so many versions over time. Chinese. So I'm just giving another example to indicate the same. And while on the one hand, then on the other hand, on the one hand, the original is certainly very important. But supposing one can't verify what's the original, what are you going to do? Fortunately, I mean, here's a nice example of following what you're comment is, in Brihat Bhagavatamrita and Laghu Bhagavatamrita, there's many references of text that we don't have access to. But they did. Rupa and Sanatan did. Or another personality is Madhvacharya. He was notorious, or famous, celebrated for gathering literatures. And many, when he makes reference in his commentaries to those literatures, we just assume that they existed. Unfortunately, at a certain point in time, there was a fire in his library. And the library is no longer there. The manuscripts are gone. He was gathering them from, all four directions of the country and making reference to this manuscript, that manuscript, this authoritative writing, etc. So, we can take those persons like Madhvacharya or Rupa Goswami and Sanatana Goswami and take them as authoritative. It's like, some of these comments, you and I have had exchanges of, well, that's not in Valmiki Ramayana. But then, where does it come from? It's not in Valmiki Ramayana. It's commentary by Sri Vaishnava Acharyas, or taken by Sri Vaishnavas at least, as authoritative, and they don't make statements coming from the air. They have some realization, and they have some scriptural authority that supports that realization. So we may not have access in time and space to those resources. They're accepted and on good faith as authoritative, etc., etc. I'm just expanding on the point that you were making, not a different point. What's the real text? We spent this time yesterday. Amritananda asked the question. There's in North India, they have a picture of Ramachandra as blackish or dark, and in South India they have a different picture of Ramachandra. So which is it? So we decided, or there's little discussion. The gold standard is Valmiki Ramayana. Then comes your question, but there are different versions of Valmiki Ramayana. And then there are different translations of those versions of Valmiki Ramayana. So one of those documents that you should have received, or if you didn't, then you'll get one. Sham and Dhruvagras in the Brihat Bhagavatamrita, the Laghu Bhagavatamrita, Rupa Goswami makes reference to specifically describing the form, the complexion of Ramachandra is like a newly grown Dhruvagras, which is a certain coloration of dark green. There's shades of Dhruvagras, but it's a dark green. And that's the complexion, which is also dark. As Valmiki reminds us, it depends on what your rendering of the word dark is. I'm just amplifying the same point. Anyone else want to discuss something else?
Today and giving the lecture. Last time when you came a couple of months ago, it was real. I asked you a question, and I followed what you said. Now, currently, I'm reading with the kids in the night every day, Ramayana. So, yeah. So that's what I wanted
Every
to share.
night.
Yeah. Try every night. Sometimes it's just we have to miss, but trying, yeah, to read every night. So it's nice. So this is very interesting. Wherever I have before in my life, when I was little, even I was hearing from my father every night before sleeping Ramayana and all those stories. So, and also like whatever I've seen or read, this seems very interesting. Just something different I learned today, that Laksmana was cooking. Everywhere it smells that Rita was cooking. Something new I learned. And this question that I have is, I always wanted to, like as the Bhagavad Gita, as there's so many versions, and we have Bhagavad Gita as it is. So, but just like that, Ramayana also has so many versions. So, if we want to hear, as Prabhupada wanted to write, but he couldn't. So, which version, as if we want to take it as the most authentic one, which one you suggest, Maharaj, so that we can read as like as from sloka by sloka, and the translation and purport, something like that, something. Yeah.
That you're following up a little bit on her question.
Yeah.
Different angle on that same question, same topic.
Yeah.
Well, like this question of what does Valmiki Ramayana say as the complexion of Ramachandra. So there are at least there are such and such and such and such editions, and generally speaking, they're accepted. There's Sanskrit, and you go to the Sanskrit, and then how do you? What's the right interpretation of the Sanskrit? Because Shama is so. There's just, for example, then there are different editions that may have different language or different words indicating things. So precision is nice, and then go to. Here's a nice example to respond to your question. Fortunately, the writings of Rupa Goswami were preserved. Now that's not going back to, Ramayanas, but his writings were preserved. They were preserved by his nephew, Jiva Goswami, a disciple of Jiva Goswami. He knew how to do it. He had a temple, and he kept them in a safe place in the temple. And then generation after generation after generation, they were preserved. But gradually, because the manuscripts were on decomposable material, biologically, they would start to fall apart. And so they were turned over to a Jiva Institute, and they knew how to preserve the original documents. So I'm making a point. Those original documents are still available. So we know, unequivocally, what did Rupa Goswami write? That the manuscript is there still. And many of these old writings, who knows? And so they're different versions, just like, for example, they're different, slightly different renderings of certain verses in the Bhagavatam. Now, Prabhupada has given us Srimad Bhagavatam, but where did that come from? Where are the verses in Sanskrit? Where is it recorded? And who knows is that it's actually what was composed? Who knows? But there's, at least over the generations, scholars have accepted this is the composition. So that's where we go to those sources and accept, basically, with acknowledging there may be some differences. So the best, your question is, where do you go to get, the original or the best? Learn Sanskrit. But, most of us don't know Sanskrit. So then someone that's a competent translator of Sanskrit to your language, English or whatever the language somebody speaks in. And they're different, say just Sanskrit to English. They're different translators, Sanskrit to English. At least within ISKCON, the person who is no longer with us physically, was the most reliable translator was Gopi Pradhan. And therefore the BBT authorized him and published his translation of Rupa Goswami's writings, Laghu Bhagavatamrita and Brihad Bhagavatamrita by Sanatana Goswami. And there are different translations from the Sanskrit to English, and just don't match qualitatively. Now, poetically on, and the details, just like this reference of the color of Ramachandra as like the freshly grown dhruva grass. That was in Gopi's translation. You can see the Sanskrit, you can see the translation. It's okay. So it's someone who's a good Sanskrit to English translator and is readable. Because some of the old English may or may not be accurate, and most of it is not so legible. It's just sawdust. And you're reading to your children. And so whatever mom says, that's it. Yeah. on something that they don't know about, yeah. I mean, they're not going to say, wait a minute, maybe Ramchandra didn't do that or didn't say that, maybe it was something else. They're not likely to do that. For Ramayana, for that topic. Something came up, for example, something came up when I was at the Sunday Feast program in Hartford, Connecticut, last Sunday, just 1 week ago. So there was because the topic was Maryada Purushottama of Lord Ramachandra, the person of ideal character. That was our topic. And one of the persons in the audience said he claimed that he was from his childhood not accustomed to Valmiki Ramayana but Ramcharitmanas. And he said something that's not in Ramcharitmanas. And I was very surprised. And then we did a little research, and it's not in Ramcharitmanas, although he said it. Although he said it in his Sunday Feast class in front of the whole temple room. So we did a little research. What he said is in Ramcharitmanas, it's not in Ramcharitmanas. And it turns out he heard it from a movie. And then he was accepting that's what's in Ramcharitmanas, although it wasn't. And then anyway, I didn't chastise him, but it says convention becomes reality rather than reality is reality. So it's good to be careful and good to have a good translator. when it has, fidelity for, what the actual message is, and representing it nicely. Okay? Should I go on? It's 1:00 almost. Maybe I should end.
Some of the families want to go to the second program,
I want to go to the
second program of Jagannath installation.
Okay. So we'll call it quits. You have something?
Yes. One of the slides showed service of Lakshmana, a mood of service of Lakshmana towards Ramachandra in totality, body, mind, and words. Like our topic since yesterday was Lakshmana, and trying to understand that the summum bonum of everything as totality, service in totality. I was just appreciating our acharyas and the discipline succession, how strongly they are grounded in this service mode of body, mind, and words towards discipline succession that goes till Krishna. Appreciation. And then my question or trying to understand in little service attitude of ours towards spiritual master or Krishna, we see some seemingly difficulties in the service itself while doing the service. So how to just keep ourselves fixed in this mood of totality, Maharaj?
Well, that's the heart. The body, mind, and words are on the outside, and the inside is the heart. So the heart's orientation. It's a, how do you grow a tree? You water the root of the tree. You cultivate it so it sprouts, and then you water the root as it's growing. Not too much, So sincerity of purpose makes that the heart make its connection properly. We'll say it differently. Same thing. Nitya Siddha Krishna Prema Sadhya Kabunoi Shravanadi Shuddha Chitte Karayayudoi. The stage of spiritual perfection is already within. Krishna Prema is already within. So then how do you make Krishna Prema that's already within? Everything. So you focus. Do your worldly duties, do the things that are necessary, and dedicate those things that are necessary, that Krishna should be pleased. So you nurture all of that by the hearing process from the right source. It says like this question here about how do you select the right source to hear from or to read from? Because I read with my children. So, regular hearing from the right source awakens that natural Krishna Prema mood that's already there. It just awakens and awakens and awakens. The coverings become, so that's the Bhakti process is the method. Okay. Okay. Boys are having a nice time.